to look into the passage, let us just commit this time to God's hand. Father Lord, we come before you, O God. Quiet down our heart, O God, as we settle down ourselves before you, O God, to seek you, O Lord. So open up our ears, O Lord. Open up our hearts, O God, as we come before you. Speak to us, O Lord. Let us know what you want us to learn today, O Lord, and speak to us, Lord. Set our minds to you, O God, that we will not be distracted by our phones. We will not be distracted by the people around us, O God, but we will set our eyes on you, Lord. So I just want to commit this time into your hand. Let your Holy Spirit come and lead us into this study. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, today we are going to talk about judge not and do not judge. Yeah. So let us read this passage. Can you guys read together with me? So I will not be alone, you see. All right, so Luke chapter 6, verse 37. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Verse 39. He also taught them this parable. Can the blind lead the blind? Will that not both fall into a pit? The student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your eye? How can you say to your brother, Brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. All right, so for verse 37, do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. What comes into your mind when you see the word judge? It's normally a very, very negative words for us, right? It's like when we judge people, the things that automatically come into our mind is like we are saying something very negative about that person, like we judge how you wear, or we judge how you act. But is this what the kind of judgment that Bible is talking about? Judge is not condemn, but the world that we live in here teach us that when we judge, it's like we are condemning someone. But this is not what the Bible says. And Jesus knows what we are thinking. He knows what we are doing. When we judge, he knows our intention when we judge. We judge is to bring people down. We judge to make ourselves look good. Like when I judge you, I feel that I'm better than you. Jesus knows what we are thinking. And that's why he says, do not judge. Do not condemn. And Jesus takes judgment very seriously. In Bible, it says that he is the righteous judge, and he is full of grace and truth. And in John chapter 7, verse 24 says that he judged not by appearance, but with the right judgment. And he pronounced issues from his core loving nature. When we judge someone, are we judging like how Jesus judged? Or we judge with our selfish desire? We judge with a not loving attitude. We judge to bring other people down. And because the Bible says that when we judge, we should have this attitude of to correct the people, to rebuke, and to encourage people. But are we doing the things that Bible asks us to do? James 5:19-20 says that, my brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth, and someone should bring the person back, remember this: whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover over a multitude of sins. If one of you should wander from the truth, someone should bring that person back. Remember this: whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover over a multitude of sins. This should be the kind of attitude and the mindset that we have when we judge. Not because we want to condemn, not because we want to make ourselves look good, but we want to save them from death. That's why we judge, we correct, and we encourage. So for the next verse, forgive and you will be forgiven. Do you know how much you have been forgiven by your Father in heaven? There's this parable that Jesus tell the disciples in Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 to 35, the parable of the unmerciful servant. I'm not sure whether you guys heard this before, but this is what the story is about. Peter asked Jesus, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who have sinned against me? Up to 7 times. And Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. 77 times. How are you guys going to count how many people you have forgiven in your life? For sure, you guys will lost count halfway, right? So you see, he gave this parable to Peter. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, Be patient with me, and I will pay it back. But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants heard this, they were very angry, they were outraged, and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I cancel all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have that mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brothers or sisters from your heart. Isn't this parable is a very powerful one? We have received so much forgiveness from God, but are we giving our forgiveness to our brothers and sisters who have do wrong against us? Shouldn't you, wicked servant, he said, I cancel all the debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servants just as I had on you? Do we have mercy on our brothers and sisters when they sin against us? We sinners, God can forgive us as we have sinned against God so much. And He has given us this, His mercy, His forgiveness. How can we, as a sinner, cannot forgive our brother and sister who are also another sinner? Our forgiveness towards others, it also means that we don't know what God has done for us. If you might say, I know God has forgiven us, I know what God has to do, but the Bible has taught me. I go for Sunday school, Terence taught me, I go to Sunday service, Pastor had taught me. But do you guys truly understand what God had done for you? Not the head knowledge, but your heart. Do you truly understand what God had done for you, that you can receive this forgiveness from Him? He has sent His one and only Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us, for our sins. Do we truly understand that? Do we truly see that as a thing that is happening on us, but not a story that you listen, a story that wow, it's so amazing, but truly it's happening on us? This is what God had done for you. Because if you guys truly understand this, the forgiveness that God has given you, you will not act the way that you act right now. You will be more forgiving, and you will understand how the pain of not being forgiven. You will understand it because you have learned it from God, you have received it from God, and you will do it to your brother and sister. And C.S. Lewis says that to be a Christian means to forgive the inexcusable, because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. If God can forgive the inexcusable in us, what more can we say and what more can we do saying that we can't forgive our brothers and sisters? And you see how Jesus end this parable. He says that this is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. And verse 38 says this: give and it will be given to you, and a good measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. How much have you been giving to your brother and sister? The giving here is not talking about materially giving, like you buy something for your friends or this thing. But the giving here is talking about your right judgment and your forgiveness. How much forgiveness have you been giving? And how you judge others? How are you giving in this part? And they use this metaphor of measuring out grain. A good measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. You know, in the olden days, how they sell the grain, how they do it is that in the olden days, right, the seller they will put the measure between their laps, and they will fill the measure 3/4 full, and later on they will give it a good shake with a rotary motion so that the grain will settle down, and later on they will pour more so that the measure will be filled, and give it another shake, and later on they will tightly press it with their hand and heaps it into a cone, tapping it carefully to press the grain together. And if there is a hole in the cone, right, they will continue to fill it until there is no single space for the grain, and so that the buyer get what they deserve. They pay for the price and they get what they deserve. That's like, this is what I always do. 7-Eleven, they sell these drinks called Slurpee. Slurpee is like, there's the cups there, you can get it your own, and then like got 3 different sizes, if not mistaken, and I will always get the smallest one because I cannot finish the big one. So I get the smallest one, and then you can go and make it yourself. Like you can fill it yourself. And this is what I always do. I'm not sure whether you guys do the same thing as me, but when I fill it like halfway, and then I will like knock on the table, I will shake it so that it will like sink down a bit, and continue to fill it and fill it and shake. Then until the end, like even at the top, I still continue to shake, and then continue to fill. You get what? This is what they do in the olden day. I pay the price, and I hope to get the amount that I deserve. And this is what they do in the olden day. And this is what this verse is talking about. Give and it will be given to you. For the measure you use, it will be measured to you. So what kind of measure you use when you forgive your brothers and sisters in Christ? What kind of... God used a measure of a big bucket of his forgiveness towards us. But are we using the same measure as what God used towards us? Or are we using a small cup when we measure the forgiveness that we are to extend to our brothers and sisters? And it says that, and Jesus says that for the measure you use, it will be measured to you. When we show grace and mercy to our brothers and sisters, God will show us his super abundant blessing. Because he's gracious to the gracious and generous with the generous. But are we gracious to our brothers and sisters? Are we being generous with the people around us? Are we giving the measurement that God has given us? And in verse 39 it says that he also taught them this parable: can the blind lead the blind? Will that not both fall into a pit? Can you imagine, like when you close your eyes, you imagine a blind leading a blind? What will that be like? A blind leading a blind. Some of you here might not have a good imagination, right? So how about we just visualize it? And can I get like 2 volunteers to do this with me? All right, so Latasha and... Okay, can I get Ming Li? Latasha and Ming Li. Come, we do this together. So what we are going to do now, the parable says that, can the blind lead the blind? So now both of you come. 2 of you will be the blind right now. And yeah, that is on. That is on. Okay, so what we are going to do now is that Winky. Can you see? No. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we ask them to walk hand in hand together, hold hand, and then and we will ask them to walk straight line. Come over here. Okay. So now we have two blind here. The verse says that can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a pit? Okay, so you guys may start to walk now. Blind lead the blind. Oh. Okay. All right. So can you guys see what happened to them when the blind lead the blind? Okay, guys, can go back. What happened to them when they are blindfolded and they walk hand in hand together? What happened to them? They're not on the chair, right? Because they can't see. They can't see and they're not on the chair. So this verse says that can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a pit? And the outcome of a blind leading a blind is a destruction. You're not the chair, you fall into the pit. So ask yourself, are you the blind? When you say that you want to correct your brother and sister, you say that he did something wrong. I want to correct him. I want to talk to him and I want to tell him this is wrong. Ask yourself, can you see? Are you blind? If you are blind and you want to lead another blind, what will happen? You will not only lead yourself into destruction, but you will lead your brother into destruction. And the next verse says that the student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher. So what the teacher does, the student does. If the teacher is blind, the student will be blind. So as you say that you want to correct your brother and sister, are you blind? If you are blind in this, they will learn from you. In a way, when you do not give them the right judgment, you do it with a wrong attitude. Like, hey, why you wear this? Cannot lie, cannot lie. The way you say it, the way you portray it, the way you express yourself, you learn by them. And what will happen, it will be passing on and on and on. Next time, when they see someone did something wrong, they'll say, hey, why you do this? Cannot lie, Christian cannot do this, Christian cannot do that. Is it in a loving way? It's not in a loving way, right? So what you do is very important. How you correct your brothers and sisters, how you encourage them is very important. In a way they will learn from you and they will do it to another person. And verse 41, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your eye and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. You see how Jesus used the word here, speck and plank. Do you guys know the difference of speck and plank? Plank is the wood that you are stepping on right now. It's a big wood to make floors. And speck of sawdust is just a tiny piece of dirt that you can barely see with your eye. And Jesus says that, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say that you judge your brother with their small mistake and you yourself neglect the sin that you have in your life? How can you judge your brothers and sisters for their small mistake when you yourself are caught with sin? And you might say that, I truly care for my brother and sister. I truly want them to be well. I truly want them to get out of this situation they are in right now. My heart is right, I'm not doing it to condemn them. I'm not doing it because I hate them, but I want them to be good. But look at what Jesus says next. You hypocrite. If you are truly concerned about the sins, if you are truly concerned about doing things wrong or doing things right, you yourself will first watch after yourself. You yourself will first wanting you yourself will first wanting to repent and clear the sin in your own life before you judge the others. Because if you say you care for your brothers and sisters, but you yourself are caught with sin, this is the word that Jesus used. You hypocrite. So are we the hypocrite? Are we the hypocrite that trying to correct our brother and sister, trying to judge them without watching ourselves first? Examine yourself and watch after yourself. Can you see? Have you paid attention to the plank in your own eye? If not, what we should do? Shouldn't we come before your Father in heaven and ask Him and seek Him and ask Him to cleanse ourselves first, to remove the plank in our own eye first, before we judge the others, before we want to remove the speck of sawdust in our brother's eye? And because if you has asked God to remove the plank in your own eye, you will first experience the forgiveness from God. You will experience the mercy and the grace from God. And you will not act the same way like how you did before. You will not judge as how the world judge. Because your attitude has changed. Because you have experienced what God has done in your life. Because you truly understand what God has done in your life. And when you come to your brother and sister, when you want to correct them, you will not condemn. But you will correct them with love and gentleness. Because you have experienced that from God. And you will be more forgiving. Because you have experienced the forgiveness from God. And you will humble yourself when you come to your brother and sister. You will not judge them in a way trying to portray yourself are better than them, or trying to make yourself look good, because you know that you yourself are also the sinner that need to be forgiven by God. And you will not be prideful before God, or you will not be prideful before your brother and sister, but you will correct them in a gentle way, in a loving way. And you will want them to experience the grace, the mercy, and the forgiveness from God, just as you do. So every time you see your brother and sister are caught in sin, the first thing we should do is not to go before them and tell them, hey, you are wrong in this, you are wrong in that. But you should ask yourself first, are you in that situation? Are you caught in sin as well? Are you righteous before God? Or are you making the same mistake? Can you see, or is your eyes being covered by the plank? If you cannot see, how are you going to lead your brother? How are you going to lead them? Because you will only lead them into destruction, right? So, yep. And this verse says that, brothers and sisters, if anyone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourself, or you also may be tempted. If anyone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. So are we called to judge? In a way, the Bible says do not judge. But are we called to judge? There's a lot of verse in Bible like this: hate evil, love good. If we can't judge, if we don't judge, how are we supposed to know what is good and what is bad. But the judgment that the Bible says is not the understanding that we have as the world has. So when we judge, but before we judge, we should examine ourselves. Is our own plank being removed? If not, who are you to judge your brothers and sisters? And are we carrying the right attitude and mindset when removing the speck from your brother's eyes? Are we being prideful? Do we come to them with love, or are we trying to condemn them? This is a question that I find it very important, as in, we human nature, we love to judge people. We human nature, when we see things, we love to judge. The way you wear, or the way you do things, the way you act. Automatically, we will judge them in our way. But should we do that? Should we judge according to the world, the judgment that the world gives? Or should we judge like what the Bible says, with a right judgment? Judge not by appearance, but with the right judgment. And oftentimes, we do not see the problem in us. We do not see the plank in our eyes. When something's happened, we love to go and look for the speck in our brothers and sisters' eyes. We love to see, we ignore the plank in our own eye, even though we know that something is wrong with us, even though we know that we have something that is covering our eyes, we know that there is this plank in our eye, but we ignore it. And we work so hard and we look so hard to find that little speck of sawdust in our brother's eye. Is this what we are called to do? And is this the right attitude that we should have? Why don't we look at our own plan in our own eye before we try to do something to our brothers and sisters, before we try to correct them? Even though we have the right heart, even though we have the right attitude, we want our brothers and sisters to be good. But are you yourself being watched? Are you yourself being cleansed? So, because if we Christians can watch after our own plan in our own eye, the church will be a very beautiful place to go. In a way that we will not point fingers to the people. When something's happened, the first thing that comes into our mind is to examine ourselves. The first thing that comes into our mind is to ask God, is there something wrong in me that lead this problem, that caused this confliction between the church, to cause this unhappiness among the church members? Because if everyone can do this, instead of pointing fingers like, he did this wrong, he did that wrong, the way he do this, the way he do things, we will learn a lot in that. And when we come to seek God, our heart will change because we receive the forgiveness and the mercy and the grace from Him. So what I'm trying to say here is that before we judge, why not we ask God, is our heart right before Him? Is the plan in our own eyes cleansed? If not, who are we to judge? And ask, you see, I asked a lot of questions just now. There's a lot of things I asked. Are you judging? Do you forgive your brothers and sisters? How much you give? Are you blind? Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your own eyes? You know why I ask all these questions? Because I want you guys to examine yourself. Are you doing all this right? Or are you not? And if not, Can we just come before our Father and ask Him to reveal the plank in our eye before we look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye? Come before the Father and ask Him to reveal the things that is hindering you to understand His forgiveness, to understand His grace and mercy, and to understand the gospel of Jesus dying on the cross for our sin so that we can receive the forgiveness. Don't make it a head knowledge as in you understand all these things, but tell it to your heart whether you truly understand the gospel. Do you truly understand what Jesus has done for us? Dying on the cross, suffer in this world. For what? It's for our own sin. Do we truly understand that? If we truly understand, our attitude will change when you want to judge your brother and sister, because you know that God did not judge you in that way. God did not condemn you in that way, and you will not do that to your brothers and sisters. So, yep, this is my sermon. And before we close, can I just invite Terence to pray for you all?